Hey guys, it's Matt. I don't think you'll need images here, although eventually we'll end up on the reality concentric rings diagram after we get through this. Let's get to the bottom of this philosophical horse shit that we've heard so much about, the famous book by Jean Baudrillard. I'm from Philly, that's the best I can do. One of the opening scenes of The Matrix features his famous book, Simulacra and Simulation. We've heard a lot about it. It's all philosophical mumbo jumbo, but we can use it to get a little closer as to what this not nilk, or now we say asshole dark reality, is out to do to us. And Jean deserves an incredible amount of credit, could be put there by not nilk itself, for reasons that we've discussed in the past, as the way reality is going or where they want to take it always needs to be revealed. And assuming he wrote this completely on his own, it is tremendously insightful. It's so insightful, it almost seems like a not nilk playbook. The way John Nash's presentation in A Beautiful Mind mimics how the world's corporate systems would all collude together. It's like that sort of thing. If he came up with it, it was pushed to the forefront by not nilk systems because they're using it as a playbook on what they want to lay down on reality itself. And as usual, I will present the absolute basics in a way everyone can understand. I'm not going to present this like the university professors that try to use big words to just try to hear themselves talk so they can play it back with a hard on. I'm just going to try to present this so we can understand it and we can actually use it to get a little bit more insight as to what not nilk reality is trying to do to real people. It absolutely is like a playbook. Matt, I didn't think you read these sorts of things. I don't. I didn't read it. I scanned it. I listened to some lectures about it. I took the main parts away from it, and I can see clearly not what exactly he's trying to present in it. The main points can be summarized and are summarized in other places, but how not nilk absolutely is using it as a playbook. The main points from the book, as summarized, are the main points. It doesn't do as much useless philosophical pondering as some useless piece of horse shit like Hobbes' Leviathan that almost can't even be read, but it gets into that same type of horse shit. I don't have time for that bullshit. The last chapter on postmodern nihilism. I don't have time for postmodern nihilism. I have to take what I can away from it, which I believe I have, you'll be the judge of that, and apply it to what they're trying to shove up our ass in terms of not nilk reality. All right, let's back up and start with the basics. Probably the opening scene in The Matrix, Matrix 1. The partygoers knock on the door. The girl with the white rabbit tattoo. The guy's like, hey man, you got my program? What? Neo goes to the book, Simulacra and Simulation, which is hollowed out, which pretty much everything in The Matrix is symbolism. It's hollowed out. He has his illegal hacker program inside the book. He gets paid and then agrees to follow the partygoers out to the club. This is our first introduction to Simulacra and Simulation. But then it appears again in Matrix 4 in a different way, Matrix Resurrections, as Simulatte, a Starbucks of the Matrix, where Neo is introduced to Trinity in Matrix 4 after 60 years after Matrix 1 through 3, and they rediscover each other, not knowing each other. Now, this book, Simulacra and Simulation, is far more about simulacra than it's about simulation. So we must start, what the hell does that mean, Matt? Will you be surprised how varying the definitions are depending on who you talk to or who you listen to? Just think of it as a copy. A copy of a copy, a facsimile. It doesn't mean 3D printed. It doesn't mean it has to be exact, because then you get into simulation. Can be a bad drawing of something, could be a simulacra. It's just a copy of a copy. And as I was researching the definition and what this book's all about and all the philosophical horseshit takes on what Baudrillard is saying in the book, what kept coming back to me is like, in terms of, I'm always trying to apply everything to reality itself. A facsimile of a facsimile of a facsimile. Remember in the old days, anybody who was working in the late 80s or early 90s, you'd have a fax sent so many damn times through the fax machine you couldn't even make out the numbers anymore of a copy, and a copy starts to degrade. Well, that's exactly what they're doing to reality itself. Don't get into the exact definition. Just think a copy or a replacement. But the key here is the copy becomes the reality. And the old reality, the original of the copy of the copy of the copy of the copy, is permanently lost. The original is permanently lost. This is exactly what Notnilk or the Asshole Dark is trying to do to us, and quite successfully, except to our little group, right now. Okay, everybody knows what a simulation is. You put on a certain headset, VR goggles, that will transport you to what New York City was like in 1860, whatever it may be. And it tries to simulate to get the feel of that time period exactly as believable as it can be. That's not just confined to VR headsets. It could be, anything is a simulation that transports you back and tries to replicate an actual environment, even a very descriptive book. Simulacra, just think of that same damn piece of paper going through the facts. It's a copy of a copy of a copy. And over time, here's the key, even if I still don't truly understand what the hell simulacra is. And there is no agreement on an exact definition. Trust me, I've spent too much time on it. It doesn't matter. That's what it wants us to do. What matters is the copy of the copy of the copy and what's presented as reality. Okay, the evolution of it, the original is lost, and the simulacra becomes reality itself. Now, this Baudrillard, through society and culture, he predicted a ton of where we are today. And like I said, to me, he's a C.S. Lewis. I don't know how connected he is or how much of a tool of Notnilk Systems he is. Doesn't matter. They're using his book either way. What is this contrived or legitimate? Where Baudrillard, Matt, stop pronouncing the French. You're butchering it. Let's just say Jean or John. We're going to call him Jean. John came out and said, the Matrix, they used my book. Those people have no idea what I meant. He cut up the Matrix movie for using the book. That's not where I was going. And then they came back with, well, of course it wasn't where you're going. Was your book about pod people in the future? No, relax, Jean. So, there was that back and forth saying they don't even understand what I was trying to say in the book. And it's one of these types of books, very philosophical, almost paragraph by paragraph. That's, again, most of it is philosophical horseshit. When you're at 2 or 3 or 4 sentence reality, you don't need to dabble into these places. If this couldn't be used to help us clarify 3 or 4 or 5 sentence reality, I wouldn't be looking at it. Let me present one really basic example, almost a ridiculous example about simulacra, so we can have an understanding and we can move on instead of this philosophical loop that reality wants us in, just constant debate over nonsense and not getting to the heart of the matter. So again, simulacra, it doesn't have to be an exact copy. Like Michelangelo's David, did it really look like David? Was he really a victim of shrinkage in that regard? It doesn't matter. It can be a very bad copy. Say that this society in the future has no longer access to meat or real beef. And all there is in the Burger Kings and the McDonald's is the Impossible Burger or plant matter that tastes like meat. And for 40 years, that's all people have because they can't get the real meat, just like Soylent Green, only to say the super rich. So that's all anybody knows, an entire generation or two. Then even that, for some reason, say is lost. And it's some sort of jerky. That is meat. Now, 200 years from now, that's the simulacra. That meat is jerky. It's this dried up stuff. They have no concept of originally what it was. The original, the T-bone steak, is completely lost in society, culture, and reality. It's not like the jerky, the dried up piece of shit, is like the T-bone. One is much, much different. It doesn't have to be in a simulation at all. It's just a copy that gets bad over time. And Matt, reality does this to us in millions of different ways. Exactly. That's where we're going to go. But I didn't call you in the back, so sit down and shut up. So reality today is the simulacra that people accept as truth, as real. And the simulacras are all incrementally laid down on real people participating in society and culture, so each incremental step is easy for the population to take, where the simulacra, or what exists today, is the truth, is reality. And here's the key point once again: the original is gone. So the connections real people have to the original is artificially removed via these copies of a copy of a copy of reality. Now, here's, of course, just 30 seconds or less where we differ from the guy down the cul-de-sac or your Aunt Ginny. We see this, of course, as planned, as sinister, as very calculated and cold by something here at the screen level. Something that can't be pointed at in the police lineup, where, of course, my friend Tony, Matt, it's just how society evolves naturally. And I understand some things today aren't as good for kids as they were when we grew up. No, we see it as very planned, calculated, and sinister. This is where we have the advantage over people 1,000 times smarter than Matt, where we have the advantage over Jean, over any of these big philosophical thinkers. Anybody, I'm not saying I'm as smart as them, but we have the advantage. I know their tactics. We have the advantage. We have the advantage because the sinister element has been revealed. Jean never looked for a sinister element. I doubt there's a segment in that book that talks about something similar to not milk or screen, and it's all artificial, and it's all to corrupt a human being spiritually from understanding itself. I guarantee. Matt, I thought you did. I didn't read it, but I guarantee that shit ain't in there. That's the advantage that we have. Or you're a bunch of psychopaths that are seeing something that's not there with your alpophilia. Well, that's a possibility. But reality has given itself away so much, you don't have to be a genius to see it anymore. It's given itself away to us per the time period in which we live. You just have to be a normal person without your head up your ass to see it. Matt, you arrogant son of a bitch, you come along and say you're smarter than Jean Baudrillard because you're taking his work and expanding on it to get closer to reality. No. I had never said I was smarter. He's 1,000 times smarter than me. He didn't have access to seeing the not milk asshole dark reality exposed in his day. Again, you don't have to be, that's what's so perplexing to you and me. You don't have to be a genius to see how reality gives itself away every day, how artificial everything is, how unbelievable everything is, all of reality's breaking down. See, it's not, that doesn't make me smarter. I just don't have my head up my ass. If Jean, I believe, if he was alive today, I believe he would see it. Unless he's a not milk tool and he would never then raise his head up out of the water. He would stay quiet as Huxley and all these others and stay quiet as Orwell did and serve not milk reality. We don't know what C.S. Lewis. Why do you stop talking about C.S. Lewis all the time, Matt? I'll get to the bottom of. There's so many lovers of C.S. Lewis out there. I'll get to the bottom. I'm skeptical. You suspect C.S. Lewis. I'll get to the bottom of him in a few weeks. I'll expose him if he's really working for the not milk. Sorry, I'm not smarter than this guy. This guy, see, reality was more believable. It was a much more professional presentation. He wasn't looking in the sinister areas that we're looking. Not that we're smarter. Reality, it's almost like they're behind schedule. It, for some reason, during this time period, it had to give all of this shit away to us. So we have the advantage. Vasily, it's not the all the Russian Navy I'm worried about. It's the Americans. We get some buckaroo. I have far more tools at my advantage. Tools that take me to the heart of how not milk reality itself operates. And again, I'm assuming John is just a good guy and he wants to get to the bottom of everything the way we do and not working for not milk systems, but assuming he's just a regular guy that wrote a book. I could bring him into my room here, bring him into my office here, book him into the room, and I could show him the old Mac and he'd say, there's no possible way what you're showing me could exist in reality. Take him to 2020, 2021, 2022. He'd say, that's not possible. What you're showing me is this old Mac is some sort of event horizon and passed through a plane of hell and came back. That's not possible. So he'd say, yeah, working with all the tools you have on the old Mac, which is a complete and utter showing of a breakdown of reality across the board. That's right, Matt. You're no genius. You just have a lot more to work with than I did when I wrote the damn book in 1981. That's all it is. Okay, if this reality that exists right now, all of society and culture, is a simulacrum. I think crumb, like crumb cake, is the singular. I think in the book title, simulacra is the plural. I don't know. Assuming this is a simulacrum and a replacement or a copy of a copy of a copy of original, what is the point? Who asked that in the back of the Amish classroom? I'm glad you asked, because you know what the answer is? Somebody in the front tell them. The same answer, it applies every single time. It's the same 2 sentences every single time. The same 2 sentences to create a world, to move a fake world away from any roots or ties to the original world, a world that prevents real people or real spiritual beings from understanding what really is, or having roots to connect, to do what they're supposed to do in life, to move you further away from having any hope of understanding or what you need to do here. Now, there's one major exception, of course, to this moving everything away, where again, the copy of the copy of the copy becomes what's real, and the original fades away. And because even all history can be overwritten on the internet, the original, or people don't even look for the original copy. They don't even think the original exists. Babies will be born 10 years from now thinking that social media and selfies have always been back through George Washington. They'll believe they had to pause battles in the Revolutionary War to take selfies. All of history will be overwritten. And God, I don't know how you factor in the Mandela effect in this. We'll leave that out for now. It's hard enough to understand. The original reality, first there was one original paper before it went through the fax machine. That no longer will even exist to the most current form of the simulacra. And what's the purpose? The same damn 2 sentences to hide a spiritual being from what's true, what's original, what they're here to do for themselves, and the bullshit reality becomes what is real, of course. And if anybody's saying, well, how many iterations of this matrix have there been in the movie? There were 6. How many different eras or epochs? You could break it down like that. You could talk about the era of the internet, completely moved the simulacra along. And again, it does blend in with the word simulation. I don't think it matters at this point. It wants us to get caught up in that horseshit semantics. Okay, it doesn't matter. 6 iterations of the Matrix, the era of the internet, the era of television. You could actually break it down day by day. The world today has just slid a little bit farther into the bullshit reality that it wants, that will hide a real spiritual being from understanding itself or doing what it's supposed to do here. I'll give you an example. I was on the phone with Greg last night, and I paused the TV, and the Comcast news ticker comes up. And it's never important news. Maybe 1 out of 5 things is, quote, important news. But you know what I heard? All this bullshit starts coming up. Joey Lawrence had a baby. Because Joey Lawrence had a baby, and now that's been, if he had a baby on his own in a cave somewhere with just a midwife, that's very natural, and that's to be respected. But because that news item has now perpetuated all of society and culture, and is now all over the world, like that would be important to anybody, for anybody to know, then that has then taken the simulacra a step farther down the hole and away from what is real and what is true. So there is no how many iterations of this matrix. This matrix changes by the second. It's always a new simulacra. And it is at the point now where people have no recollection. Let's do the same age one more time. Unless you're extremely rare individual, if you're under age 35, you have no idea of what the original reality even looked like. And I mentioned exception, which I never got to, and that's the most important part. The exception to all this, of course, is us. Let's just assume we're correct at this time, not crazy, not alpophilia. The exception is us, because if anybody was screaming, throwing rubber duckies, saying, Matt, as it moves the simulacra more aggressively away from the root or the original, and the original disappears, and all concept of the original disappears, we are waking up, because it's doing that so aggressively, we're waking up people like us in mass. Okay, but is it in terms of what it needs to do on the whole? Is it about us? How many people are diving into the things that we dive into? Even inside the Truth Calm community, we're, in terms of people that think this way, we're what, 5% or less? Most people trying to still break down what happened at the mall, and this isn't real, and they're talking about the moon landing. I mean, we're past that. That's all part of a fake reality. That's all designed to do something that can be defined or talked about in 2 sentences. And we're past all that. So yes, in terms of the exception, it has ridiculously given itself away to us. But, does it think it's going to win every battle across the board? It might say, in its smoking room, it might have said, well, this group here is going to, if we're going to move this quickly in terms of moving the simulacra and moving society and culture along, where the original reality won't even be remembered, this group over here is going to wake up very quickly. And they're like, well, let them. Okay, let them. We can't help that. Let them, we've already put them in a box. We've already made them the boy and girls that cry wolf. We've already painted them out to be insane. We've already discredited them and disgraced them with the people around them. So they can't do any damage to us. Let them wake up. We've played them like a fiddle for 15 years where nobody around them will believe a damn thing that they have to say. They'll see it, and they'll see it more clearly every day, but let them cry wolf, because they've done it so many times, nobody believes the dumb sons of bitches anymore. And I was looking for a new and exciting thumbnail image to show you, because even though it's just boring-ass thumbnail images, every 5 or 10 minutes I replace it, if you're driving, with another boring-ass thumbnail image. As I was scrolling down, here's the book cover in the magenta. Is anybody surprised? Matt, it's all blur. He never had a book cover in magenta. Look, the Jean is all blurred out. You did this. No, I didn't. It just image searched the simple terms I used, simulacra and simulation book. I didn't do this. It leads to some blog or something. I agree. There was never no magenta book cover. I'm surprised there's not more magenta associated with something like this, a book that seems to be so important to what the Not Milk is trying to do to reality. Again, I don't know if I was clear on this earlier. Let's say Jean was a good guy trying to do his best and had incredible power of observation when he wrote this through the late 70s and early 80s. Again, this guy, if he's not working for Not Milk, he's way ahead of his time. So assuming he just wrote this book and he didn't get marching orders from the top floor of the Ministry of Information to write something like this, then there's no doubt that whatever is here that stands behind the screen, whether you call it Satan, an AI intelligence, whatever the dark reality here that seems to download into people to motivate them to do whatever the reality wants, like the pastor at the church that didn't take the $50,000 to replace the pipe organ with redo the old beautiful organ and refurbish the pipes. He used the $50,000 for a digital system. Nobody would believe that Men in Black came in and told him to do that. He just kind of went along with what the Not Milk would want in terms of pushing everything towards the digital. He went along with it without knowing what he was doing, without knowing what he was serving. So you would think that, again, if Jean just tried to write this book and he's doing the best he can, they're using it, or whatever this thing here is absolutely using it like a John Nash playbook. Maybe it didn't have all these ideas. Maybe who knows how creative it is, right? And it read this thing and said, whoa, look at this. Look at what? It talks to itself. We can do this. Oh my, look at the ideas that this guy Jean is now giving me. I'm talking as the asshole dark. Look what this guy, we could have never came up with this on our own, as it talks to itself. Like the Whopper's so sophisticated, it needs to talk to itself. It's using this simulacra and simulation as a damn playbook. 1981 was when it came out, right at the heart of the internet. Again, guys, this guy could be as sinister. Matt, this guy's Not Milk all the way. Maybe he is. I don't know. Okay? I don't know. It doesn't matter whether he was inspired to write a playbook of sorts for the Not Milk, or it said, "Ooh, look at this. We can use this." It doesn't matter, because it's using it as a playbook, and it's probably gotten ideas from it. I'm not joking. It doesn't end up in 2 Matrix movies for no reason. I know the actual book is in Matrix 1, and this is Simulatte, the Starbucks thing, but of course it's a reference right back to the opening scene in the Matrix and the book. So, again, that's a lot here. Let's pause for a second. Simulacra, okay, it's another way of saying it. Representation of reality that then becomes the real. It's the most important part. It's a copy of a copy of a copy, and it manipulated, and some would say hijacked, but people have no ability to see that it is a copy of a copy of a copy, or to see how in any way it's been manipulated or hijacked, it becomes the real and in a way becomes the original because the original ceases to exist. I should have mentioned this earlier, but one of the most famous lines from The Matrix from Morpheus, "Welcome to the desert of the real," that's from Jean's book. Welcome to the desert of the real. The desert is gone. There ain't a blade of grass of the real left. Well, Matt, what if it gets worse? And even we don't remember what the original reality looked like because there's been so many damn simulacrums, simulacras, and simulates. It doesn't matter for us. It doesn't matter because we're pretty much already there in terms of understanding. We still have work to do, no doubt about it. But we know that finding the correct path is up to us. Like we still have work to do for ourselves in terms of the purpose of life, going back 10,000 miles and looking back on the snow globe reality and like what is that place designed to do for real spirits that enter, and I'm fulfilling that. See, it doesn't matter. We're already on the right path. Now there's a long journey ahead of many of us and even for myself, but I don't think if it continues to remove the original of that was the spawn of the simulacras, or removing history and confusing everything, it doesn't matter, I don't think, to us at all. We don't need that clue or that key from Ready Player One anymore. We have all that. We still might not do the right things, but in terms of everybody else out there, these keys are being permanently removed. Would you say that, let's just say somebody you're picturing or you're thinking of right now, or a loved one or a girlfriend or somebody down the cul-de-sac, whoever it may be, you think they may be a very real person, whatever that means to you. Would you say it's harder for them to wake up to what is real, or is it more of a desert of the real for them every single day, and the chances of them ever coming around or seeing what they need to do here is getting harder and harder and harder every day? Of course, it's getting harder and harder for them. It's now a desert of the real. There's very little keys or clues left. Whatever really bizarro clues, like evidence from Cake in a Lake events, and they're on the ship of fools, so they don't see anything wrong with the way, say, the news is presenting this story. They don't see it. They've sailed on the ship for too long. I think they're willing, as a casualty of war, or I don't know any other way to put it, they'll let us win. They can't get everybody. And for those people, what will the final simulacrum, simulacra, simulate look like merged with a simulation? It'll be a digital environment of some kind, and some firing rubber duckies and screaming at me would say, Matt, they have their hands on reality buttons and levers that we don't quite understand. It's pretty much here. Maybe we've already walked into it already. I don't know. Again, I don't think it matters for us. I don't think they're quite there yet. I don't think it'll look like the way we think it'll look if it's presented on a TV show, like somebody puts on a digital headset and then they just think that's the real world, or the movie or the Netflix show, which is only worth watching, say, the first 30 or 40 minutes, because then you get the whole gist of the whole series in the first 30 minutes or so. It's called Upload, where he uploads his consciousness right before the moment of death, so he could always be with his girlfriend. Then like a week later, his girlfriend gets tired of him and she starts going on real dates, and he's like, well, I'm trapped in this upload system for the rest of my Ray Kurzweil existence, he says. All that stuff is meant to mislead. Everything Elon Musk says in regard to simulation, it's meant to hijack it in the ninth inning. It's meant to mislead. It's not going to look the way we think, where people are putting on a headset and then they're completely in a fake world, and they can't determine the difference. It's not going to be like a headset, I don't think. It'll be something at the root, or the metaphysical root of reality. I don't think it'll be as simple as, what was that movie? Was it Existence, or whatever? Or how many movies are about this sort of theme? Even The Matrix itself. So we get an idea of what merging with the digital environment will look like. It's telling us what it'll look like. And then we won't have our guard up. Maybe we will, but the regular population then won't have their guard up when it's actually something else, something they won't be ready for. And they will have merged with the digital environment. Then maybe that's where simulacra merges with simulation and they become one. It's related to the two into one religion, in my opinion. Somehow it ties in. All right, this is the movie. Yeah, Existence. Is that Jude Law? Matt, don't do the Cold Mountain thing. I won't. I'll just make fun of Jennifer Jason Leigh because this is the only thing I've ever seen her in where I don't think of that horrible Damone scene in the pool room. It was actually a very good movie, and I didn't see Jennifer Jason Leigh in that role at the mall. So for the only time it's ever happened. It's a very good movie, but the point here is how many movies are about this theme or TV shows where you're not sure what reality is. And a similar theme or point from these movies is, these people get kind of trapped in realities. They don't know how they got there. And how would one get into this reality is kind of like, it's not a giveaway, if anybody's screaming, Matt, we could be in there now. Okay, fine, I hear you. But it's not all doom and gloom. Okay, it's just not the way reality works. They can't get everybody. They didn't calculate a 100% success rate. Okay, if they're doing, it's yin and yang. The symbol, one moves, the other has to move with it. There are rules in this matrix. If everybody around you is bowing down to the matrix and believing everything put on social media, and they're completely brainwashed on the ship of fools, then per the yin and yang, as they get dumber, then you're going to wake up more. Your chance of escape or doing what you need to do here gets greater. The yin and yang exists as the most powerful or prominent symbol in all of reality for a reason. They're not getting 100% success. If they're getting it with the dummies on the ship of fools, then is it any coincidence that we're waking up to what we need to do, which I think we're pretty much already there. It's just in terms of doing the work in the limited time, the very short limited time we have left in this reality. Now time flies. 1 year, 2023 will be 2024, will be 2025, will be the end of be 2030. They'll just, how quick time goes is almost unnatural anymore. So we don't have a whole lot of time left to do the work that we need to do here for ourselves. But it's pretty much already given away to us almost pretty much everything we need. Again, it's a few sentences. Anybody that tries to complicate it, I think, is working for the not milk. Well, Matt, this presentation's been pretty complicated with your simulacra horse shit and Simulatte. If anybody new here, I could be wrong. I'll give you my few sentences. If anybody's new, the entire screen reality asks a real spiritual being to buy into it. Okay? It reaches its sticky fingers and grimy hands down into your reality bubble. If you engage with it, believe in it, across the board it's a fraud. And every single presentation and area, it's false, faux, and a fraud. If you engage with it or believe in it, you have less of a chance of understanding your true nature, that you are a spiritual being that's not all about the body and ego, and there are spiritual parts of you that likely aren't here. You're much greater than what appears to be here in this earth system. It hides that from you, and then it gets in your way, so you came here for a reason as a spiritual entity. It gets in your way so you don't do what you're supposed to do for yourself here. Nobody can tell you what you have to do for yourself. This is the hardest part of the journey, and it's a conversation to yourself, and that's the most difficult part. Seeing through the fraud and the trick, it's become so pathetic. That's the easy part. The hard work is saying, oh man, what do I have to do for myself, and not hiding from that. And again, that's no gigantic, you have to go up to a mountain in Tibet and meditate on that for years and years. It starts simply. My brother's coming over with his wife that I hate. I'm not going to take the bait tonight. I'm going to be a much bigger person. I'm going to look down on this reality and what's going on here and how it's trying to bait me in to what it wants me to do with my sister-in-law, whatever it might be. Start small. Me not getting very angry at the damn rooster cocking and crowing all day long like a South Carolina Gamecocks football game after every first down. After every goddamn first down for the South Carolina Gamecocks. Greg's got me watching that horse shit. And just at the time I'm starting to watch that horse shit, somebody puts a rooster up the damn road. It's actually, I thought it was gone. Now it's back, but then I haven't heard it for a few days. Who knows? Hopefully, it keeps the thing locked away in a cave or something. But that's that, Matt. You're saying all you need to do in life is get over, not become violently angry when you hear a rooster crowing up the road. No, that's the start of it. But don't overlook the small stuff either. It's all part of the quote human experience. In terms of what you then need to do for yourself, it comes from your inner knowing, your intuition, your inner tuning fork. It's different for all of us, in my opinion. We've all heard this horse shit in the community for how many years? Service to self, service to others. Service to self, service to others. Matt, that applies to aliens. I don't, whatever. It applies to you too, and to me too, I believe. But then this is my personal interpretation. It might not resonate with you at all. What I have to do here may be completely different than what you need to do here, but you need to figure it out on your own. This has come to me big time in the last 2 years. You know, I've had the 4 cats here. 2 have recently died. In terms of, there was something the amount of work that I did, it's just off the charts with Bootsy peeing all over the house on trash bags and just, constantly defending the house from pee. But there's something very therapeutic in terms of what I just went through, in terms of the work that I put in. And I've thought about it many times, and it has to do with and again, I don't want to go down this, I could talk about this for hours. Let me just do 3 minutes or less. Service to self, service to others. The first, say, 30 some years of my life, I was very selfish. I had no brothers and sisters. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, but it was always about what, Matt has to be taken to practice, to baseball practice or basketball practice or football practice, and Matt needs to do this. It was all about me. I never had any sort of a very serious girlfriend, never even been close to being married or anything like that. It was all about me. And I thought, many times I've thought over the last 10 years, well, if a part of me or a spiritual part of me is not here and it's kind of keeping track, and you got to go 51% service to others, 49% service to self to be successful, you got a ways to go. And who knows if that's why the cats were introduced into my life. Because since Belle came in, 2014 with Belle, right? Yeah, 2014. I've been serving cats, but it's service to something else. It doesn't matter what that something else is. If there was a huge discrepancy in service to Matt versus service to other things that I'm still needing to make up for. And I believe the cats was like a huge boost forward to me to trying to level that out. Now I still have work to do. And there's no way I'm selfish anymore. My ego has gone down 95%. I live meagerly. I don't care about material things. I just don't care about anything I cared about in terms of any sort of screen activity or what the not milk tells me I should covet. But there's something to that with me in terms of the work that I need to do here for myself. And there's a little part of me saying, Matt, you're not at 5149 yet. You still have work to do in terms of service to something else, not just cats or whatever it may be. And I don't think there's any difference in terms of serving a cat or taking care of a sick grandmother. In terms of the way I'm scorekeeping it, it's the ability to serve something other than yourself. Doesn't matter what that entity is that is being served. Again, I've already talked about this too long, but this is part of what I figured out what I need to do here, amongst many other things that I still need to do in the time that I have left. I was highly allergic to cats before I started watching Cooper and Gouda for Pam. It just went away, highly allergic. I would wheeze. I couldn't even breathe around cats. Just went away. And some people would say because it needed to go away. You needed an animal experience. Couldn't have a dog, so it had to be cats. The allergy just went away. Got Belle. Immediately health issues, health problems. Throwing up all over the place. Got this fat lip she bit through. Blood everywhere. Vet visits. I don't know if she was the runt of the litter. Always issues with Belle. Started serving Belle, taking care of Belle. Then, because it just was such an incredible spiritual relationship with Belle, went to the shelter and said, give me the hardest cat you have. And they said, we don't even have one on the website. This Fifi Addie here isn't even on the website. She's such a hard adoption. I said, I'll take her. And that was tough. Ran from me for 2 years. Ran from me. No love, no affection. Completely different today. 2 years. I served it. I gave it love. It was service to something else. Then I got Zara. Zara's its own entity. She's a supermodel. She's clean. She's easy. But she's like a regular cat. She'll just go off and, be by herself for hours, or, you know what I mean? That's more like it's not like service to something. Then Puss in Boots. Pam, just out of the blue, has to go rescue these two from the nursing home. And then not even 2 months later, they end up at my house because they can't be at her house because Bootsy's peeing everywhere. My house with hardwood is much different than Pam has this, townhouse, just wall-to-wall carpet, and the whole house would have been ruined where I can defend this house better. Also, Pam isn't capable of doing that sort of work that was needed for Bootsy. So then I have Bootsy. Okay, here come the health issues. Here come the tooth surgery. Puss, health issues, service to something else. These things were necessary for me in my life journey. And that's just one of many things that I need to do. But the point in all this, it's not complicated. It's not complicated. Just get in touch with what you came here to do. It's shadow work and all these technical terms, and don't have to watch all these YouTube. No, it's not complicated. There's a trick here. It's to fool you into chasing a bunch of bullshit that will get in your way to what you came here to do for yourself. Okay, we all see through the trick, or you wouldn't be here. Now, just make a list. What do you need to do for yourself here to overcome petty issues? Sir, to me, 5149, I need to make sure the day I depart this earth, I've served other things much more than I've served myself. That is on my list. It might not need to be on your list, but the point here is it's not complicated. Write the list down and start doing it. Getting back to what we were talking about in the beginning, and to conclude that, one of the main tricks it does, one of the final things that someone in the truth comm needs to see through, is it's about who you really believe you are, or understanding what you are. So most people are fooled. If you ask most people who or what they are, they will give you not milk responses. One of the main tricks of this reality system is to, quote, fill you up, fill somebody's self-identity up with its things. To fill your self-identity up with what it wants you to believe that you are. And there's 1,000 different interpretations of this. Straw man, first name all caps, last name all caps, getting people to believe that name that's on a driver's license or birth certificate, that is you. Do simple affirmations to say, I need that to drive, but that is not me. I'm absolutely all for coming up with your own name. That's not what's that your parents gave you, where they put your foot, your soul print. Some people still have a soul printer. They probably did away with that, but the damn soul print used to be on the birth certificate. The Nuwanda from Dead Poet Society said, don't call me that. Call me Nuwanda tonight. That is so healthy, in my opinion, because but you don't have to call yourself Nuwanda. I think through affirmations, we have the power to do that. If we didn't have the power to do that, it wouldn't work so hard with its trick. It's that simple. It needs to be very adept at laying down its trick or its ruse. It wants to fill you up with self-identity of what it decides, of what it wants. Self-identity has to come from you. I mean, again, most truth commers are not anywhere near where they need to be for a lot of reasons. Almost every single tag, if somebody says, who are you? And you say a tag or an identifier of this reality, then you are playing Not Nilk's game on its home field. Saying, I'm a graduate of Penn State University, I'm a Democrat, or I'm a Republican, and guys, don't get triggered. I'm not going to say everything everybody wants to hear all the time. Even the tag of I'm a Christian. In my opinion, you can disagree. If you want to take your ball and go home, go home. You can still have your religion without the tag. You understand? I'm not picking on Christianity or Islam. I'm not picking on the religion. But if you define yourself with a tag of what this Not Nilk has laid down, you are playing its game on its field. Don't have to tag yourself to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. They're two different things, in my opinion. I'm telling you, in my opinion, very strongly, every single tag from this reality system moves you closer to the screen. Drop all tags and camps. And there's a whole lot more in this regard we can talk about going forward. If you're a quote Christian and you got upset at what I just said, you have work to do. You really do. You can have any religion you want. You can believe in anything as your Savior. You can have a relationship with that God or Savior without the tag. The tag is a camp. The tag is an identifier that separates you from others. Okay, it's playing its game on its home field. Okay, I see them as two completely different things. What would the response to that be? That, Matt, the tag, I'm happy to call myself a Christian. That's the one identifier here in this entire reality system that's pure and genuine. All the other 14 million are not. No, they all are playing the not nilks game. Doesn't mean you can't have the same religion. It's just my opinion. Thanks for listening.